They've done amazingly well moving it from Santiago at this time.
Go take us to...
I'd like to, Your Excellencies, I'd like to begin by expressing my sympathies to the people of Samoa, who are still, of course, working to contain a deadly outbreak of measles. My heart breaks for the families who have lost children to this tragedy. Fiji is also contending with a measles outbreak as well, and we are in the midst of a national campaign to immunize our most at-risk groups. And I'd like to applaud the New Zealand government for deploying medical staff to Samoa to combat the outbreak and for assisting Fiji with securing our immunizations. The Kiwi commitment to the Pacific is carried forward again this evening as you stand with Fiji on the right side of history when it comes to fighting for our oceans and the life they sustain. It's a pleasure to partner with you in hosting this Moana Blue Pacific Pavilion, following the success of our Cornevia Pacific Pavilion last year. From working as a yacht cadet from the age of 10 to serving as an enlisted man in the Fijian Navy and as a naval commander, a great deal of my life has been shaped by my time at sea. Today, like some of you, lead a large ocean state which spans 1.3 million kilometers and 330 islands. That is home to some of the world's most vibrant ocean ecosystems and a people whose identities are bonded by a profound ancient connection to our oceans. When I speak with the Fijian people, they tell me our ocean is changing. Fishermen in our maritime communities tell me fishery stocks are decreasing. Women selling in our markets tell me the price of fish are rising as supply becomes scarcer. Our dive guides and our tour operators tell me our reef systems are vanishing before their eyes. We, the Fijian people, are all witness to the steady and painful degradation of our seas and marine life. I have to wonder whether my generation will be the last to know a vibrant and functioning ocean ecosystem. A recent report from the IPCC finds my fears are not unfounded. The climate emergency is an ocean's emergency, as our warming world has meant warming seas. Our mangroves, our seagrass, and kelp fields together represent the most powerful carbon sink on Earth. In fact, were it not for the vast amount of carbon our oceans have sucked from the atmosphere, climate impacts would have wrought far more catastrophic levels of devastation. But we can no longer afford to watch from the sidelines while our oceans wage the climate struggle on our behalf. The absorption of carbon emissions is coming at a precariously high price. That price to the ecosystems is bleached coral reefs, collapsing fisheries, and large-scale mangrove mortality. The price to island nations such as Fiji is the disappearance of fishing communities and oceanic livelihoods. Fiji is committed to using international forums to chart a different future for the oceans. During the Fijian presidency at COP23, we of course launched the Ocean Pathway with the goal of establishing an oceans process in the UNFCCC. And of course with us is the Deputy Prime Minister of Sweden, who together, Isabella, who together with me co-hosted of course the first ocean conference in United Nations. Since that time, Fiji's leadership on the pathway has not receded. It is surging ahead. We are embracing this blue COP to secure the global commitments necessary to address the interconnected nature of threats to ocean health. And we're trying to lead by example. In the Pacific, we know we're all in the same canoe when it comes to responsible management of the ocean. And so we're building a range of partnerships to responsibly manage the oceans. The lines naming up EEZs only exist on charts and in our minds. Schools of tuna don't check in at the oceanic border separating Fiji from Tuvalu or from Kiribati. Neither do the giant masses of plastic drifting unrestricted through our seas. The success of individual nations is sustainably managing their patch of the sea is compounded when others do the same. Fiji has partnered with the Marshall Islands to lead the development of the Pacific Blue Shipping Partnership, which aims to dramatically reduce emissions from our domestic shipping fleets. Seven other countries have enlisted, and the partnership is aiming for a 40% emissions reduction by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2050. It's an ambitious effort that will require redesigning our aging shipping fleets to be more fuel efficient. We're developing a financial package of $500 million to fund that transition. Given this challenge extends far beyond Pacific horizons, Fiji is also reaching outside of the Pacific to build a wider, coordinated international oceans campaign. Earlier today, Fiji joined our friends from California to launch the Pacific Rim Ocean and Climate Actions Partnership, which aims to unite Pacific states, cities, and companies to cut emissions and implement international policies that support ocean health. It's another bold international recognition of the ocean's climate nexus, a recognition we hope to see reflected in the process of the UNFCCC. On Thursday, I'll be back in this pavilion for the soft launch of a coalition committed to implementing a 100% sustainable management regime for our EEZ, with at least 30% to be declared protected area by 2030. Fiji is set to launch a national oceans policy, which considers special planning around our EEZ surveillance, security, and efforts to tap into traditional practices and values to achieve this goal. With similar progress by our neighboring Pacific Island nations, we expect the formal launch of this coalition to be a defining moment in Lisbon next June at the second UN Conference on Oceans. Your Excellencies, friends, the economic changes of the 20th century have recklessly tested the resilience of our oceans, and for this Blue COP to live up to its name, it must be remembered by history as a turning point for humanity's attitude and actions towards protecting our seas. If we push the science to the side and continue blindly down our current path, our children and their children after them will watch the world's most vibrant and nourishing ecosystem degrade into lifeless wastelands. That pain will be felt acutely by the Pacific people, our people. If we want to preserve the ecosystems that are so foundational to our livelihoods, we must build political will from the bottom up, harness the concerns and aspirations of global citizens in coastal and landlocked nations alike, and paddle together in the same canoe towards a sustainable ocean's future. I look forward to seeing you here at the week's end after we've secured new recognition of the ocean climate nexus and renewed hope for Oceanic people the world over. Thank you. God bless you all.
So welcome, everybody. I'd just like to start by thanking the Prime Minister of Fiji, Bainimarama, for working with us to deliver this pavilion. You're right, last year was very successful. We sort of dipped our toe in the water with, I think, a very successful pavilion, and we've sort of sized up this year. And it's been extremely successful. I'm told that the Moana Blue Pacific Pavilion has been one of the busiest at COP25, which I think just shows how cool we are, actually. There's obviously been a huge array of events here. We've had apparently something like 5,000 people through this pavilion in the last week, which is a really good record. Also working with us on this pavilion, of course, was the Secretariat of the Pacific Regional Environment Program, known lovingly to its friends as SPREP. And so I really want to thank SPREP for all of the hard work that they put in getting this pavilion together, organising logistics and the whole team who's helped to do that. And also all of the Pacific delegations at COP25 for bringing this space to life, as it clearly has done. The Roku drumming group outside have been showing COP25 what the Pacific sounds like, and you know that there's an event happening here all across the campus because those drums have sort of been ringing out to invite people in. The official welcome last week incorporated a mix of Pacific Island and Māori culture, just like the word Moana. And I think it's been a fantastic showcase of the cultures of the Pacific, and it continues on the tradition of leadership that the Pacific Island states had, in particular, making sure that the language of the 1.5 degree threshold was in the Paris Agreement, which was frankly a remarkable achievement, given that that movement came from some of the smallest and most vulnerable and usually not listened to countries and states on Earth. And so I think having established that leadership around what the temperature threshold is that we can afford to have, it's been great that we've been able to have this tradition over the last two COPs to have these pavilions. And I do also want to acknowledge you, Prime Minister, for your leadership as the President of COP23, which was a huge success, so well done. Prime Minister Bainimarama said that he is getting word from people and communities around Fiji that our oceans are changing, and that is immediately apparent for anybody who's paying any attention, whether that's someone who is living close to the sea and is out on the oceans fishing for a living, or whether it's a scientific institute or anybody who has much engagement with it. I've actually had members of the New Zealand Navy say to our government that they are noticing the effects that climate change is having on the oceans that they are sailing. A few months ago, one of our largest fishing companies in New Zealand posted a loss, and they attributed that in part to the fact that the oceans are warming. There are fewer fish in the sea, and they're certainly moving from their traditional fishing grounds, making it harder for them to fish in. Prime Minister Bainimarama also referred to the plastics in our oceans. And New Zealand, I think over the weekend, our Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has stated that after last year, when we said that we were going to be phasing out single-use plastic bags in New Zealand, we're now going to be broadening that out to a much greater array of single-use plastics, different types of plastics as well, because we just recognise that actually we have gone too far in allowing those into our oceans. I had a meeting earlier today with a number of ministers and heads of delegation from the Pacific, and there are a number of messages that I heard really clearly. The first one is, you know that old Elvis song, a little less conversation, a little more action, baby? That's coming through loud and clear, that the Pacific's tolerance for kicking the can down the road, for deferring decisions to next year's COP, for leaving the detail unsaid is actually at an end, and that a number of people said actually they're sick of negotiating. They've been doing that for 25 years. They want to see some action on the ground now, and it's time to make some changes. And so that's coming through loud and clear. Obviously, coupled with that, the need, and it's, you see it around all of the walls here, plastered, the need for greater global ambition, because the current pathway does not keep us within 1.5 or even 2 degrees of global warming above pre-industrial levels. And obviously for the Pacific Islands, or many of the Pacific Islands, that represents an existential threat, and that is simply unacceptable to expose ourselves to that level of risk. But mostly what I heard was a real sense that it is all about implementation on the ground. That we can set all the targets and have all the plans you can like, but actually it's time to get some solar panels out and to do all the changes that we actually need to do to actually bring down our emissions in the Pacific, in our home countries and around the world, and also to make sure that we are adapting fully to the effects of climate change, which are already locked in. And so I think with that sense of, shall we say, purposeful impatience, that we go into the remaining 5 days of this COP. And so, again, I just want to thank all of you for your being here tonight, for the contribution that you have all made and are all making to this pavilion and to our Pacific family as we speak with one voice on the issues that are important to the Pacific here in this global negotiation on climate change. Thank you very much for coming along tonight. Please enjoy the evening, and I'll hand you back to Kay.
We have a simple mission to pass on our island ways. Born and raised on how to treat each other with respect. We are the first generation.